Albert, you are a costume designer's costume designer. You are the benchmark, I think, that we all aspire to. And if we were doing an Albert Wolsky film festival, what would be your top five? I know it's hard to choose.
What jumped immediately in my head was, of course, the first, The Heart is a Lonely Hunter.
Ah,
It's my first movie. Then moving along, Where's Papa, which
I
was
love that.
always a favorite of mine. Lenny, very important. All That Jazz, of course. I, it's an Oscar. Across the Universe was very important for me because when I was hired, I thought, why are you hired? You have Julie Taymor. She's a terrific designer. I was able to compete much more than I expected. So that was great fun. And I thought Road to Perdition was very special. Jude Law, to me, was one of my favorites in recent years. A group of us, hair, makeup, everything, went to see him and talk to him and measure him and everything. I thought, because he was based on a real character. And so that's the image I had. And I thought, maybe I could do, maybe not. And I started to experiment in my head. And then when he came finally, well, he went for it immediately as we experimented. And what he was ended up with had nothing to do with what the real person looked like originally. And that was wonderful. To the point that he even shaved part of his hair. He was so involved in that. It was terrific. But that was
Wonderful when you can collaborate with an actor like that and
it's
discover
such a
together.
pleasure. Such a pleasure. I mean, that was a perfect example. It doesn't happen very often.
When you were working with Bob Fosse, for instance, like on All That Jazz and Star
Yeah,
80, Lenny, one of my favorite movies, those three movies, so
Lenny was
influential.
the first. Lenny was very important for me. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about working with Bob Fosse. What was that like?
He was not what you call buddy buddy, and he was serious. You never laughed a lot of her. Bob Fosse said he pushed me in a way, thinking. I felt I've always felt that I went from like that to one up.
Isn't
I
that
went
the
up.
best experience with a director when you feel they bring that out in you? I mean, that's incredible. I mean,
You know
ask
that you stepped up one more step, and you've gone someplace else, and it opens up another world.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and All That Jazz. By that time, we had worked together, so of course he trusted me more, which is always a great help with, or they know who you are, and I could then contribute more easily, and he could negate or say yes more easily.
I do want to talk a little bit about your relationship with Paul Mazursky. 11 films you designed with him.
He is the only director I've had that long. I've had influential directors, Bob Fosse, of course, and all that. But he's the benchmark for me, Paul Mazursky. After we finished, we would meet sometimes for lunch. He would tell me what he's working on next. And we would talk about it and why. He would make me read something. So it wasn't a script. And then eventually I would read the script. So by the time you started rehearsal, I had weeks of preparation as opposed to what we usually get. And that was a gift.
What do you look for when you're accepting a job?
Well, first of all, a good script, because it gives you ideas. Who the director is. I'm very director oriented. And hopefully it's a period, because I found contemporary very difficult to do. Difficult because it then becomes a thing of taste, the other person's taste, a producer's taste. There's so much interference. There's much less interference in period because they don't quite know as much, and you can really push harder. So I prefer period. I also so I feel then you can get your ideas more.
We can talk about Bugsy, which Albert also won an Oscar for, which is beautiful. It just
Oh,
so
Bugsy was also a gift. Again, we have to remember Annette Bening, who was just, that was her start, really. She had done minor things, but she was getting there, but she was still, it always was, very open. So it was a joy to dress her. The only problem I ever had with Annette is looking for some sort of reaction. She never said yes, no, just stood. That's okay. I always felt, so what's missing? Something's missing. And then one day, while we were shooting, so I'm watching her, and all of a sudden, as she's nearing the stage, the stance changes. Everything about her changes. And when she opens the door, she is ready to act. And that changed the costume. And that was so moving to me to watch. And that's what was missing at the fitting. In the making of Grease, you have to realize none of us who worked on it ever thought that was going to, we're trying to do a good movie. Never thought there would be what happened with it. That, as John Travolta said to me, one of these showings again, this one was by the Academy Open Air a few years ago. He said, Albert, do you realize we're still talking about Grease? It's all, it was a total surprise. Never expected that. It did turn out to be, for that movie, the mistakes were better than the non-mistakes. And everything was on the cuff. The last number was done. We didn't have a last number. I think it was 2 weeks before they started rehearsing with it. We didn't know what it was going to do. But there it was. All of a sudden, you had to get everything done. The play was a mess on Broadway, and the movie is a slight mess, which is very good for it. And in Manhattan, Diane Keaton was very influential on her look, totally, because I had worked with her before, a small part in Lovers and Other Strangers. And Woody Allen, then I learned, was not ever going to say no to any actor. If an actor wanted to wear a pajama top, that's what they wore. So I had to learn that quickly. Working with Allen was not a ball of laughs that way, because that's not the way. But that was the only way to do it. But with her, it was okay because it evolved. We could do it together. She dresses, she's like an actor dressing for a part. She's always dressed for the part. When we did Crimes of the Heart, all the three, her, Jessica Lange, and Sissy Spacek, we're all out of town. And so resort had closed. Their house very nearby. Everybody comes in the morning in their pajamas almost, the two ladies. Diane Keaton walks in, cape, hat, big cross, dressed. And the other two ladies, Jessica Lange and Sissy, they were so in awe of her because she was always in costume.
Albert, you've had 7 Oscar nominations and you've won two
I won
Oscars.
2. I don't quite believe it. Go ahead. I don't consider myself so brilliant. So how did I do that? I don't know.
You are a contradiction in resume and kindness. You are not a diva, you're a people person, and I can see why you've worked with the most incredible talent, because you're the most incredible talent. I mean, the most incredible cinematographers, the most incredible directors.
But the pleasure, you mentioned cinematography, sets, because it's such a pleasure. And it's about helping the story and helping the director to visualize that story. To be in part of that, it's a gift for you personally.